So with the 2024 election, this year, and Super Tuesday happening in a few weeks, obviously the big question that's concerning a lot of people out there, especially those that support our current leader, is will his age play a factor? That is the question that they and everyone else is wondering. Will his age, for JB, if you will, that's what we'll call him for short, play a factor? And that's a good question. Because a lot of people, no matter how you look at it, anybody that continuously does a job, for years, that has a lot to go into it, no matter what their age, they will try to do their job to the fullest. I mean, my mom has been a preschool Head Start teacher for 20 plus years. And when she started, hey, she was all for it. She knew what to do. She was, she was at the top of her game, and she still is. But I've seen, my sisters have seen, her slowing down. We've seen her go basically from what she was 16 and a half years ago when I came back here to live 16 and a half years ago. We're seeing her go from that to where she is now. She's still at the top of her game, very sharp and very adaptable, especially to the evolution of what needs to be utilized to help benefit those kids that she works with. But you can tell the fatigue is getting to her. You can tell that the fatigue is taking its toll to the point that normally she goes to church on Sundays, and despite the fact that this past Sunday was an A-OK day, with a few exceptions of showers here and there, or wind, I should say mostly, wind, she could have gone. But she decided not to, even despite the fact that we had a family get-together the day prior, for my niece-in-law's birthday, and a special revelation that every family, loves to, get surprised by. Even despite that, she'll still, despite, doing things like that, she will still try, if she has enough time to rest the night before, she will try her best to go to church. But she didn't. And why? Because her body was worn down. God was telling her, rest your body. Rest it up. And what I've noticed is that she sleeps in a lot longer. Now, what I mean by that is when it comes to her days off, which is mainly the weekends, or if she has a holiday weekend or spring break, she will sleep in a lot longer. And why? Because she's getting older. She's going to be the big 7'5" this year. The big 7'5", and she's still going strong in her job, but you can tell it's taking more out of her than it used to normally. It's taking more out of her. And it doesn't help sometimes that when she comes home, she likes to constantly still work if she has to. I mean, yeah, she'll rest up, get some coffee and everything, but, after that, and after she gets into her comfortable clothes, basically her rest wear, if you will, she will continue doing her job. Or she'll basically go onto the laptop and do her job. Go onto the Learning Genie site, do her job. And yet, that's taking a toll out of her. It's taking a toll. And because me and my sisters noticed this, my sisters, mostly my oldest sister, comes up, at times and says, Mom, you need to consider retirement. And she'll play it off like, no, I don't need to do that, I'm fine. But there are various moments where we have noticed that she is considering it now. Because a lot of things are changing at her job to where it's like, does she even want to be there anymore? Because here's the thing, she's an old school soul. She's an old school soul. And she's used to things being certain ways. She, like I said, she understands and adapts to the evolution of what needs to be utilized, in those schools to help benefit those kids. But she's also someone that wishes things would just go back to the way they were. basically to where she didn't have to rely on using a tablet or a Chromebook, but instead she could just be given a couple of papers and everything to fill out, for the parent-teacher conferences she's got to do, via pen, via paper. She's that kind of person, and if she had her way, and if she had a way and she could speak up and say, hey, can we just do it this way for us people that are old school? And they said, yeah, sure. She'd be happy to go in that direction. But she is adaptable, even though, again, she's not so, into certain things. Like she'll ask me, with her phone, hey, can you tell me what this is? Or what, can you push this over here and everything? Put this icon app back over to this section and all that. Because she's still learning. She's an old school soul. That's the thing. But her age and even though she's going to be the big 7'5", she doesn't let that age factor deter her from doing her job. But all it is at times is, as it takes more of a toll on her, because she goes from here in Newman early in the morning, like 6:30 or something, all the way to Livermore. And she has to be at Livermore by 8 o'clock. And she's got to go over the Altamont and everything. So for her, it does take a toll, but she doesn't let, that age, detract her. She doesn't let it detract her, but she does realize, and again, me and my sisters, we notice this, that she's even, coming to the realization that maybe it is getting closer for her to, getting closer for her in time to basically step away and hang it up, or at least get something closer to home if she wants to continue doing this. But she doesn't let her age, deter her from doing what she's doing. And, when people look at JB, a lot of them would say, his age shouldn't deter him from what he's doing. But if there's one common thread with people that have these kind of jobs, even though both are totally different in scope, is basically the fatigue factor, starts really hitting you in a big, big way. JB has to do this job, basically 24/7, if you will. And it's taking a huge toll on his mind and on his body. And people are noticing that. They are noticing that. They're noticing that he is showing his age a lot more than, basically anybody his age of 81 or plus, or if not a little bit younger, would do. But because he's doing this, he's doing this job, being the leader and everything, it's starting to show. And now you have people that did support him. You have people that, whether you believe it or not, helped him get into the Oval Office, controversially or not. You have people concerned that if he tries to debate the Republican nominee, whether that's DT or Nikki, if you will, one of them or whoever, that he's going to basically get destroyed. Especially if against DT. If it's against DT, people are pretty much saying game over. Game over. Even those that would support him, like those on The View, those on The Talk, if you will, are saying that if he does not get his act together, if his team does not, get him straightened out, get him focused on what needs to be done, then that debate pretty much is the end of him. That debate is pretty much the end of him and the end of their campaign, and they might as well just pull out and let somebody else take over, as the Democratic nominee. And could you honestly blame them for feeling that way? Because right now, visually, it's not a good sign. And again, like I said, the comparison between my mom's job and what he's doing as a job, being the leader of our country, is night and day. It's not even close. But you see, even though my mom's job does mentally and physically get to her, and we see that as she gets older, she doesn't let it deter her because she still is able to keep her mind sharp. And why? Because she's not constantly doing this job 24/7 for 12 months, for a whole year. She's not doing it for 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for straight up 48 months. She is not doing that. And why? Because she gets breaks. She gives herself breaks. I'm not saying our leader, our PTOUS, doesn't give himself breaks either. I'm not denying that. He does. But then compared to the breaks my mom gets and her fellow teachers get, they benefit more from their breaks than him. And you could see that a job like this was not meant for someone like him, as he got older. It was not meant for him. Maybe it was meant for him to continue being the VP, maybe an advisor or whatever, but being the leader of a country, let's be honest, it does not fit someone like him. It doesn't. Especially when you have your VP and other members of your team, your cabinet, if you will, doing most of the talking for you. It doesn't help when they're being more of a president, more of a leader, or at least trying to be, than you are. So I don't blame anybody for worrying and being concerned that the age and the mental and physical fatigue, that's showing on him is a concern, especially as they get close to, a potential debate with DT or whoever the Republican nominee is. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I mean, you got people in his own, party that are concerned. They're calling, people in his own party are calling out the age factor and, hey, he's looking more older than what his age, says he is. And, he looks more fatigued and more mentally and physically fatigued, and it's showing. And, he needs, and basically they're asking, even those in his own party are asking, for him to get one of those, scans, one of those, whatever they called it, to see if he's mentally and physically able to continue on as leader. That is a huge negative sign, for the Democratic Party, for any party. When the guy or gal that's in the role of leader of the country, is basically being considered, or at least, looked at as a potential, CAT scan or whatever you want to call it, kind of scan that they're looking at to see whether or not they're physically or mentally able to continue. That's not a good sign. But hey, if the Democrats can pull off some miracle going into the debate, against, for JB against whoever he's going to be up against, whether it's DT or not, if they can pull off some miraculous miracle, then hey, more power to them. More power to them. But you have a lot of people that are concerned. People that are like, yeah, right now it's not a good sign for them. It's not. It's not a good sign, period. That this is, that the leader of this country, the leader of that party is, basically showing his age, if not showing his age plus more. Because, he might be 81, 82, or whatever you want to call it. But the way he's being portrayed in the eyes of a lot of people, he might as well look older than that. And that's not good. That's not good. But, we'll have to see. But it is a major issue. If you put the shoe on the other foot, the same could be said for DT. If they felt that he was not mentally and physically able because of his age and because of his mindset, if they felt that he wasn't able physically and mentally to lead the country, don't you think that would be a red flag for them? Don't you think they'd be saying, hey, he needs to have some kind of procedure done to him to see if he's able to continue leading? Don't you think it would be a concern for them? Of course it would be. If this Nikki Haley gets in, I think that's her name, Nikki Haley, if she gets in, and apparently people are saying she's not going to last much longer, campaigning, but apparently she's going to stay the course. She's not going to drop out yet. But if she stays, let's say she gets in, do you not think the Republican Party would be like, over time, okay, let's see if she's mentally and physically able to continue? Because if they see any signs of her to where she doesn't look like she's a leader, maybe her emotions get the best of her, or maybe she makes a mistake here, or she does something she shouldn't do you not think they wouldn't call for something as well as a procedure to check her as well? Of course they would. Of course they would. It doesn't matter if you're the leader of a country, the president, the prime minister, whatever, the queen, the king, if they feel that you need a procedure to ensure that their concerns, their worriness is faulted and that you're good to go, then I would say make it happen. Because right now, JB, our leader, our high chief of this country, is not making himself or his party look good. And over time, it is exposing the truth. And that truth is what many people believe happened in 2020. And I'm not saying any more than that. But again, is age going to play a factor? Who knows? Who knows if his age is going to play a factor? Heck, for all we know, this might be all a cover-up. Maybe maybe people in his party said, JB, act this way, act and talk this way, and then when it comes to the debate, shock them. Start becoming the JB that everybody felt you should have been. Start showing that there. And that might be what happens. We don't know. We don't know. People are willing to do whatever it takes to, win debates, elections, and all that. We know it. In today's day and age, that's a fact. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But again, I will say this, and I've said it before. This election year, and everybody else has talked about it the same way, is probably the most, is the most important and most eye-watching election year that we're going to have. Because we don't know what's going to happen. You got both potential nominees for their parties, embroiled in situations that don't make them look good and don't make their parties look good by extension. But it's going to be something to keep an eye on for. Or an eye out for. It really is. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, and until then, I am out.